I want to briefly talk to you about a reasoning exercise that is actually listed in, it's posted on your Canvas page under Week 9 materials, but it is an exercise about Brandenburg, so I want to talk about it now. So if you would pull up the reasoning exercise, the skills exercise for Week 9 on Canvas, of course I will post it, take a screenshot and post it so you can follow along, but that's where you're going to find it. Okay, some more practice, right, of how we do analysis. We talked about 4 elements, right, of the Brandenburg test. There has to be advocacy. It has to be for imminence, right, so imminent is another element. It has to be lawless, so lawless is another element, activity. So advocacy for imminent lawless activity. The 4th element is under circumstances where it's likely to occur, right, the lawless activity is likely to occur. Again, you do your issue spotting first, right? If you don't see somebody asking anybody else to do anything bad, then you don't have an incitement problem. Incitement requires at least that somebody is asking somebody else to do something. So you need to be able to spot that. If you see a fact pattern, right, where somebody is punished for asking somebody else to do something, you're being tested on incitement. Okay, so number 1, again, you need advocacy. Now what we're going to do here is, again, using our syllogism, right, and our 4-in-1 mismatch, right, the strategy for identifying issues, is just kind of run through this real quickly, how you would do this, right? So if you have an incitement problem, first of all, you have to cite the right text, right, the First Amendment, do all that stuff. Then you lay out, here are the elements of incitement, then you do them one at a time. So let's look at this. If the speaker advocates, then the first element is met, right? If the speaker advocates, you can't say that incitement has happened because it's only the first of 4 elements. We're applying that to Brandenburg, obviously, in the Brandenburg case, and so the question is, what did Brandenburg do? As you recall, when we talked about this, and again, a prior video, Brandenburg suggested that there might have to be some revengeance taken, right? Because Brandenburg was a racist idiot, and he didn't know words. So what's the issue then? If Brandenburg said revengeance might have to be taken, your issue, again, when you're looking at the facts and the rule triggers, is always whether the facts pull the trigger, or in a syllogism like this, whether 4 meets 1. So the issue, of course, is whether saying that revengeance might have to be taken constitutes advocacy. Now, when you're resolving these issues, right, to the extent that you can, you use definitions, analogies, and common sense, whatever's available. Sometimes some of those are not available. But we do know what advocacy means. So when you get down to definition, right, you say, well, advocacy means asking somebody to do something. So now the question becomes, when you say revengeance might have to be taken, are you asking somebody to do anything? Common sense now kicks in. It doesn't seem like Brandenburg was identifying who was going to do what. He was speaking to an audience, but he wasn't asking that audience to do anything. He was merely saying in front of the audience that something might happen in the future. So it looks like we might have a problem even with the advocacy, right? Second element. If the speaker advocates for imminent lawless activity, then the second element is met. Okay, so we're still applying it to Brandenburg. Now you have to identify what facts are relevant to imminence. And here, as we discussed, and by the way, I should have said this earlier, you know, pause this video anytime you need to fill in these blanks yourself before I blurt it out, right? Think about that. What facts from Brandenburg are relevant to the imminence? Okay, if you paused it and restarted it, here it is. Brandenburg said that if the president, right, again, we discussed this in the prior video, if the president, Supreme Court, Congress continues to suppress white people, oppress white people, that then revengeance might have to be taken. That's what he said. So the question is whether those facts meet the imminence element, right? Again, and you get down to your definition, right? When you're resolving the issue, you say, well, the imminent means now, without delay, right? So now the question is, when Brandenburg said that revengeance might happen after, right, a few other things happen, does that mean imminence? And of course the answer is no. If other things have to happen first, then whatever threat was made, if it even is a threat, is not imminent. Third, if the speaker advocates for imminent lawless activity, then the third element is met. Brandenburg did what? Right? You got to stop and think. What did Brandenburg do that, right, or say that's relevant to the lawless, the illegal element? And here again, if you've taken some time to think about that, maybe pause it. The answer is, again, he suggested revengeance. So I want you to think about what the issue is then. 4 and 1. 1 says lawless activity, and 4 says revengeance. The issue is whether 4 meets 1. So the issue is whether revengeance is illegal. And as I mentioned before, this guy is so stupid, such an idiot, that he escaped any possible incitement charge here by using a word that doesn't mean anything. Now, revenge has meaning and vengeance has meaning, but revengeance, that's not a word. So, the court is sitting there asking this farcical question whether revengeance is illegal, and there's no way to know since, again, it's not in the dictionary. So, a revengeance might mean something bad, or it might mean something legal. So, now, just to be clear about exam writing, we never get to element 4, as I've noted on the bottom of this handout. Why? Because the court doesn't. There's nowhere to go with this. You can't decide whether the lawless activity is likely to occur when the court has concluded that there was no advocacy for lawless activity. What activity, right? So there's nowhere to go from there. Those elements are missing. Therefore, we don't get to the 4th one because you need all of them, right? Just keep in mind on an exam, right, that the Supreme Court can do that. On an exam, you want to make sure if there are 4 elements, just hit all of them. But I think that's enough to illustrate the point. I just want to at least one more time go over the reasoning process and encourage you to think about that every time that we go through these elements. So for example, all the elements we just went through for obscenity, right? If it's patently offensive, right? If it appeals to prurient interest, all that stuff, you'd have to go through all of those. So enough of that. Next thing we're going to do is to go over just briefly 3 questions to review in the next video, that is, to review unprotected speech. So we'll just do 3 quick multiple choice questions, 1 on incitement, 1 on fighting words, and 1 on obscenity. So there'll be 1 more kind of skills video, and then we'll get back to the substance and do time, place, matter, and then later on O'Brien. So that's enough for now. We'll see you the next time, and again, stay safe out there.